right, thank you everybody for your patience. I'm San Francisco Mayor London Breed, and we're here today at City Hall with a number of city officials as well as our community partners to talk about one of our favorite times of the year, 420. We know in the past we've not been smiling about 420. In fact, it experienced a number of challenges. And fortunately, from the past, we've learned how to adapt, how to adjust, and how to make the event a more enjoyable event, not just for the people who come here from all over the Bay Area to attend, but especially for the people who live in the surrounding community and the San Franciscans who are commuting home from work at that critical time. I want to just start by saying it's been a tough 2 years, and here we are, back together again, back having great events. In fact, this past week, the Giants and their home opening season happened at Oracle Park. Yesterday, for the first time since 1964, the Warriors played a playoff game in San Francisco, which was really exciting. And this weekend and last weekend, the Cherry Blossom Festival was packed with visitors. People are coming back to San Francisco, whether they live here or they're visiting. We know that even though COVID has been a very challenging 2 years for us, what we're seeing with the number of people who have been vaccinated and what we're seeing because of all the precautions that we've taken over the past 2 years, that yes, we are living with COVID, but at the same time, we're seeing a significant difference in how we are able to come together because we've adapted, and now as a result, we're able to have major events and to enjoy our lives once again. And of course, 420 is no different. We know that this event at one point, unsanctioned event was occurring whether we wanted it to or not. And over the years and working with the cannabis industry, we've been able to make adjustments in order to provide the appropriate safety and restroom facilities and the cleanup necessary in order to ensure that this was not as problematic on the people who live and visit the area, and provide additional transportation and other things that were very much problematic in the past. Eventually, we were lucky to have Alex Aquino step up, and as a native San Franciscan, as someone who understands and works within the industry, to step up and to coordinate it and make it a more organized event. And so he has yet again stepped up this year to provide sponsorship. So this event will have food, entertainment, and for the first time, because of changes to our local and state laws, there will be on-site cannabis sales at the location. And what that means, to be clear, whether there are sales or not, the fact is, under state law, if you are under the age of 21, you will not be allowed within the facility. So this is going to be the first time that this is done. You will be turned away. Proof of age is going to be required. And we will have, we will have the various city agencies in the area to address some of those challenges. We know that when people begin to leave the event, we'll have bus shuttle services to take people directly to BART. Traffic will be challenging in the area, but we're going to do everything we can with our parking control officers and others to try to manage and mitigate traffic during that time. We're going to make sure the area is clean. We're going to make sure that if someone is parked in your garage, they will be ticketed and towed. We're going to do everything we can to make sure that this experience is not as problematic as it has been for the people of San Francisco and neighbors. And just so you all are aware, I checked the weather, there's a 40% chance of rain, so who knows what may or may not happen on 420. But the fact is, regardless, we are prepared. We will have police officers, parking control officers, park police officers, and a number of other officials in the surrounding area to manage this event in a way that not only makes it an enjoyable and safe place for all of those who are coming. But more importantly, we want to make sure that the city is able to host this just like any other major event, so that people are safe and people have an enjoyable time. So I want to thank all of you for being here today, and we're going to have a number of our partners here from the city departments talk specifically about what the plans are, what their roles are, and what to be prepared for with each of those respective departments. And so we're going to start with the director of the Department of Rec and Park, Phil Ginsburg.
Thank you, Mayor. As the mayor said, after 2 long years, we're almost looking forward to this event, kind of, sort of. It is thrilling to have big celebrations in the park again. Our beloved park was really a lifesaver during the pandemic. It was where everybody could be outside and pursue their physical health, their mental health, a little community. And it continues to be an oasis for fun and connection in the park. As the mayor said and reflected on other parts of the city, the park is hopping. So let's show our appreciation for our amazing park and the respect it deserves. We encourage people to have fun and to celebrate, but throw away your trash, take transit, and treat the neighborhood and the park as if it was your own. The mayor highlighted the changes this year. Just as the mayor noted, there will be legal cannabis sales, so you cannot get into the event if you are not 21 years old. And so not only we will be checking ID, and we will also be checking vaccination status, so be prepared for that. And then lastly, just a big thanks. The mayor, when she was supervisor, kind of went out on a limb on this. And the mayor tried to figure out, acknowledging that this is an event that had been happening to our city before cannabis was legal. The mayor really thought through how to acknowledge that this happens and how to do it safely, and even somewhat joyously. And so 4 or 5 years later, we've gotten better at this every year, and we have a tremendous amount of infrastructure. We have trash cans, we have porta potties, we actually have a beginning, a middle, and an end of our event. And for that, in addition to thanking the mayor and all of my colleagues who are city departments here, I really did want to thank Alex and Katrina of Sounds Bazaar, as well as their sponsors, for providing all of the infrastructure to keep the park safe and to be kind and respectful of the neighborhood. So with that, this is a joint effort. So I'm going to bring up Nikesh Patel from the Office of Cannabis. Thank you.
That was going to be my pun. Thank you for taking that. Good morning, everyone. My name is Nikesh Patel. I'm the director of the San Francisco Office of Cannabis. And much like Director Ginsburg, we want to first and foremost thank the mayor for making this event possible, for supporting it, and then also all of the city departments who are here, including those that are also not here, who we've been working with tirelessly for the past several months to make sure that this event creates a safe and fun experience for everyone included. With that, I also want to thank Alex Aquino and his team with Sounds Bazaar for working so closely with our office. 420 at Hippie Hill this year is going to be experiencing a historic moment in its legacy, and that is, as has been mentioned here before, legal cannabis will be available for sale and for consumption at the event for the first time in the event's history. That is a special moment, and it's one that's fitting here in San Francisco. It's also a really important moment because how this event goes will dictate how future events in this space, cannabis permitted events, will go. So the success of this event will set the tone for other events. And so it is very fitting that this is one of the first events that the Office of Cannabis in the city will be permitting for cannabis sale and consumption. With that being said, it's really important that we get this right. And what that means is that the new event requirements that will take into effect this year are followed. They are at their bottom to create a safe and clean and fun experience for everyone who attends. But it's so imperative that they are followed. As has been mentioned here a handful of times, per state regulations, no one under the age of 21 will be permitted to this event. IDs will be checked. Another big feature of this event is that cannabis will be available for purchase on site from approved vendors. These are lab-tested products, they are regulated products, and they are vital to ensuring that this experience is safe for everyone who's there. That being said, we are encouraging everyone who plans to attend to purchase their product from these approved vendors. It's really imperative from a public health and safety standpoint, but it's also just really important to help support the local cannabis dispensaries here in San Francisco, and particularly the equity cannabis dispensaries and equity products that have worked to get their products off the ground, to open their businesses and carve a footprint in San Francisco's cannabis industry. Additionally, cannabis will be allowed for consumption, and it will be within the marked perimeter of the event. There are areas where no smoking will be enforced, and there will be signs. Additionally, within 20 feet of anywhere where you can purchase cannabis or purchase food, those will also be smoke-free zones. This is an amazing opportunity for the city to showcase its cannabis community and also to get this right. So we just really encourage everyone who plans to attend to follow the requirements, be respectful of your neighbors, and have a light time. Thanks. And with that, I invite Chief Scott to approach. Thanks.
Thank you, Nikesh. Good morning, everybody. Not to reiterate, well, I will reiterate because that's my job. I want to reiterate a few things that the mayor mentioned, Director Ginsburg and Nikesh as well. No one under 21 will be admitted, and we know that in the past, families have come out and teenagers have been invited to this event, sometimes by their parents. Please take heed to the rules. No one under 21, because if you bring teenagers or kids, they will not be admitted. Also, no drones, no alcohol, no weapons, period, illegal or otherwise. No vending, no barbecues, no pets, and things of that nature. This is all about safety. We want people to come out, enjoy themselves, and as been said by all the speakers so far, we have to get this right. Like most things, let's show the world that San Francisco knows how to do things, and we know how to do them right. So we really need your cooperation. We need people to follow the rules. We will be there in full force. We have officers that are at the command post at the park. We also have a command post at Park Station. We will be patrolling the perimeter of Hippie Hill and the surrounding areas and working with our partners, the parking control officers, under the leadership of Director Tomlin, who you'll hear from in a second. We want it to be safe. We want people to be able to walk the streets without being run over, so please follow the rules of the road. As the mayor already said, if you're blocking driveways, if you're parking illegally, you will be cited and you will most likely be towed as well. So I say all these things to prevent these things from happening, because in the best case scenario, they won't happen. So please help us out. Help yourselves. Let's make this a great event. Let's show the world that San Francisco, again, leads the way. Thank you. And now I will introduce one of my partners in public safety, Chief Jeanine Nicholson from the Fire Department.
Thanks, Chief Scott. Good morning, everyone. So the Fire Department has a couple of roles here. Our fire prevention personnel will be on scene during the entire event, making sure that everything is safe from a fire department perspective. I know there will be a medical plan in place for the event that includes EMS. We are not staffing that, but we are up-staffing our units, our medic units on the outside to be able to respond appropriately and quickly. So we want everybody to have a good time, a safe time, and just please keep an eye out for each other out there. We know there's all sorts of stuff out there that might get into something that you take, not from this authorized place, but keep an eye on your friends and call 911 if you need us. And I would now like to introduce the director of the SFMTA, Jeff Tumlin.
Thank you, Chief. As should come as no surprise to any of you, if you want to enjoy 420 Day safely and fully, please do not drive. All of the Muni lines serving Golden Gate Park are fully operational. And if you're coming from downtown or BART, we urge you to take either the 7-8 bus or transfer to the N Judah, both of which will get additional service on 420. We've also upgraded many of the bike routes throughout San Francisco during COVID, and as most of you know, there's a car-free route from the Panhandle all the way to Ocean Beach through Golden Gate Park, so please take Muni, walk, or bike to the event. For additional details, we urge you to go to the SFMTA website at sfmta.com/420. We'll be providing updates there as well as on our Twitter feed. Please come and enjoy 420 Day safely. Thank you so much. And now back to Mayor Breed.
Thank you, Jeff. And I just want to reiterate that many of our parking control officers will not only be directing traffic, but they will be in the area to respond to 311 complaints if someone is blocking someone's driveway or if someone is illegally parking in such a way that might be problematic to public safety. So to the people who live in the area, please call 311. The response time will be very quickly on 420 to ensure that people are not impacted by those who are going to choose to drive and maybe park in a way that might be problematic for the people in the community. I also want to take this opportunity to remind us of what could happen if things become unruly or problematic. We are all here, as Phil Ginsburg said, reluctantly welcoming 420, unlike in the past, more so because, of course, we support our cannabis industry, we support people being able to come together safely, and if we have to make changes, if these events become harmful or unsafe in any way, we will do so. Many of us probably remember the unsanctioned event of Halloween in the Castro, which unfortunately is no longer, is something that I used to love to attend, but it got to a point where it became increasingly unsafe, finally elevating to, sadly, a shooting that led to this unsanctioned event no longer existing in San Francisco in the way that it did before. And we hope that that doesn't happen with 420. So we're asking everyone who comes to attend this event to come with excitement and happiness and a desire to have joy during the event. And here to talk a little bit about what's actually going to be happening on the ground, who's coordinating all of the activities, is Alex Aquino.
Thank you, Mayor. Hi, I'm Alex Aquino, one of the organizers and city partners with this event. Thank you. So, yeah, I want to be on the lighter side of what's actually going on. Anyways, again, echoing the Office of Cannabis, we encourage people to purchase legal and safe tested products from our vendors on site and from our community, our local businesses. We are a community and cultural event, so we're based on sponsorship and donation, so any support with that definitely helps. Again, even in the corridor of our neighborhood, we actually put 30 porta potties within the neighborhood for people to use. And so when you come to the neighborhood, please use the porta potties. Don't use the neighbor's door front. Being said, again, our main goal is to keep it safe and clean, and that was our main thing. But again, we need to make it fun and at the same time make it, a happy occasion and fun occasion. That being said, we're proud to, have Remaps as our presenting sponsor. Again, without sponsorship, we wouldn't have any of this infrastructure. Again, back to the programming. We're doing a dedication to Robbin Williams. We know now that Robbin Williams Meadow was renamed Robbin Williams Meadow several years ago, so we're doing a dedication to him. We actually did a mural on Haight Street from Haight and Masonic. But we are doing programming with with comedians, Jeff Ross and Hannibal Burns, and we have DJs. We have also DJ Dozer, who used to be Robbin Williams' official DJ, so he actually DJs every year, but his set is always dedicated to Robbin Williams. And again, we're doing something new this year. We teamed up with United Players to do a Community and Compassion Award. We're actually giving it to Eve Meyer, who's a retired executive director for the San Francisco Suicide Prevention. She's been saving lives for 30 years, so we want to give her flowers while she's still here, and we want to celebrate her. So that's some of the some of the programming that we're doing today. I mean, on 420. Thank you.
Thank you, Alex, and thank you again for putting together such a great program. There'll be performances, there'll be music, there'll be food, there'll be cannabis. All the money that you spend at this event pretty much supports the businesses, but it also provides financial support to continue to make sure that the porta potties are available, that all the things we need to do to make this event safe, that it's supported. And we appreciate Alex and his sponsors for all coming together. And in fact, I'll say Jeff Ross is pretty funny. So you probably don't want to miss that, along with some of the other activities that are going on. But again, thank you to all of our city departments. Thank you to all of our community sponsors. And thank you to the people who regularly attend 420, because I will say that since we've been a lot more organized from the city side, it's really been a great event for San Francisco, one that we're proud of and can continue to be proud of moving into the future. And with that, we'll open it up to any questions related to the event.
As a supervisor, what's your stance on 420 and hippie held this year? And do you believe cannabis can be a viable part of San Francisco's economic recovery after?
I think you are mischaracterizing my criticalness. It had a lot to do with, sadly, the damage to the neighborhood. There were a number of real challenges to people's homes and businesses after the 420 event let out. There was also issues with people who were blocking people's driveways, and the traffic was a nightmare. There was no real involvement at one point from the city in terms of any sort of structure or management. I mean, this is a large event, and there are a lot of people who attend the event. And then there were a lot of people who were underage. And let's also remind the public that under the law, there technically is no smoking in the park. So the criticism had a lot to do with not necessarily the marijuana industry, but how the impacts of 420, which was an unsanctioned event, created a little bit of chaos and problems for the city, not to mention the ability for all those people to get out of San Francisco. I mean, you should have seen not just the upper hate, but the lower hate, and what happened with people who were not only on the sidewalks, but spilled all into the street. Cars couldn't go past. It was a nightmare. And so my criticism had everything to do with the fact that the city was not prepared for what was happening with 420, and instead of making it difficult for 420 to happen, I, along with the former mayor, Ed Lee, came together to talk about, well, how can we make this better? How can we make sure that it's safe? How can we deal with the transportation and the challenges? And in fact, the city, from that point forward, before there was a sponsor, continued to spend the enormous amount of resources to ensure the safety of the people who not only attend this event, but the people who live in the community. And so a lot of the change and the excitement has everything to do with actually having a sponsor to help pay for some of the expenses, having some various structure and organization to ensure that we know what's going on, we're prepared for what's going on. And I will say the last 420 that happened, if you were there after it was over, because we had the signage leading up to 420 telling people, beware, there might be traffic impacts, things are going on up here. Secondly, when it was over, we had those Muni shuttle buses taking people directly downtown. There were no stops, and it just worked so well, and it's something that we could be really proud of. So I think as a city official, my responsibility is to the people of San Francisco and making sure, no matter what kind of event it is, that large-scale events don't have a negative impact on the neighborhood and that people are safe, has been really where many of the criticism came from, and not necessarily directly at the industry. Christian? Well, the cannabis industry actually held a convention here, I want to say in between the pandemic, I think we have a lot of cannabis locations opened in San Francisco. The ability to treat this industry like any other industry in the city and in the state is really going to have an impact, of course, on the economics of our city in terms of the taxes that we generate to provide support for our various equity programs. But more importantly, I will say that it's not 100% certain what this particular event and its financial impacts on the city. I would say that we're probably losing money more so than making money because people come to San Francisco to support this event primarily and not necessarily the surrounding businesses, but we haven't looked at the economic impact of this event. But we do think that cannabis as a whole, the industry, plays an important role in the economy, and we want to make sure that in addition to that economic role, that we maintain the level of safety and security and regulation in such a way that it doesn't do any harm to the overall community.
Two questions. First,
Who are you with?
Sergio, I'm with NBC Bay Area. Are there any COVID concerns? I know this is an open air event. Can you talk a little bit about that? And then, as a follow-up, a federal judge has just struck down the mask mandate on public transportation. I was wondering if you could comment on that, and perhaps also Mr. Tumlin.
Okay, I'll have Director Tumlin comment on the mask mandate situation. As you all know, we are living with COVID, and it's just a part of what's going to be. But I think the biggest difference now that didn't exist before is we have vaccines. We have a lot of people who are getting vaccinated, and even as we see this new variant, what we're finding under the information I have from Dr. Grant Colfax from the Department of Public Health is people are getting infected, they're getting sick, but more than likely they're not going to the hospital for it. And I think that is a big shift in terms of our concerns in the past. We have always been concerned about the number of people who have been hospitalized and the number of people dying from COVID. And what I think because of the vaccine and because of the time that we've been in this, I think has a lot to do with seeing significant changes. Our Department of Public Health, as a result, has lifted a number of mask mandates and a number of other requirements, which gives us comfort in hosting an event of this magnitude. And let's just take this back and remember that San Francisco was the first city in the country to shut down, but also we've been the most conservative. So the fact that our Department of Public Health is comfortable with allowing people in Chase Arena not to wear a mask, or at the ballpark, indoor and outdoor events, it is significant. And so I am not as concerned as I probably would have been a year ago, and I think we're in a really good place. And I'll let Director Jeff Tumlin talk a little bit about what's going to happen with public transportation.
Thank you, Mayor Breed, for the promotion. I'm Jeffrey Tumlin, the director of the SFMTA. And yes, earlier today, a federal judge on the East Coast struck down the federal mask mandates. Currently, we are following the progress of this case very closely. Currently, the mask mandates are still in place for public transit, but we're expecting new guidance soon, and we'll be issuing reports as soon as we get the correct information. But more importantly, as we have always done from the very beginning of this pandemic, SFMTA will closely follow all of the health guidance from the federal government and from Dr. Grant Colfax here at the San Francisco Department of Public Health. We've also been tracking the global data from the beginning of COVID about how to halt COVID transmission on public transit. What has been clear all over the world is public transit has never been a significant transmission source for the virus. Part of the reason is that air filtration and air turnover is so good on public transit. On Muni, the air completely turns over at least once every minute, far better than almost any other indoor space any of us is in. So while we recommend that people wear masks, we don't believe it's actually necessary in order to ensure that public transit is safe, and we'll be responding to, again, whatever health guidance we receive from the experts.
All right. I don't see the enthusiasm for 420 like it once was. Before, you guys were all over us, like, what's going on? What's going to happen? And now it's like, hey, we might take the day off and go out there ourselves. He didn't get a chance to.
David Welch, KCBS. We're walking this line, this fine line between the two. I think your words were reluctantly embracing. So what does that look like? Are we embracing this with the hope of moving forward, knowing that it will continue to happen? What is that line, that fine line that we're walking?
Well, we have had some challenges with 420 as it relates to community and public safety in the past. And so with any large-scale event, making sure that the right resources are available to ensure safety. So I think that has more to do with it than anything else. This event came together in a very organic way, and it's evolved and it's become a place that people are attracted to versus, you know, someone like the Outside Lands folks. They came in with professional event planners to plan outside lands and to cover their bases to ensure safety. This one, we've had to adapt. So I think the reluctance comes from making sure that we're allowing the event to be what it's always been to people and not over-regulating, but at the same time, we have no choice because of the scale of the scale of the event based on the number of people to incorporate city resources and oversight. And my hope is that that will continue to allow the event to be a safe event and for the neighbors to have better experiences, which means if that continues, it's not a question. This is an event that we know can continue. And it's not necessarily about the industry, because the other challenge we have, as our fire chief mentioned, we are concerned of what people lace marijuana with in light of the number of overdose deaths in San Francisco. We don't want, you know, those kinds of situations to occur. So we're mindful of all the different impacts and what that's going to mean. My hope is that people understand the significance of why this is so important, to follow the rules, to stay safe, and to also enjoy yourself at the same time, and not to add any other dynamics to it. So public safety and is probably the real reason why we're most concerned. But ultimately, we're excited to bring most events back, including this one, and looking forward to its success. Thank you.